have any y's that are negative unless it's like -4. So there's like some other stuff on the outside, but a straight absolute value shouldn't. So try to check it out on page 257, numbers 1a and 1b. It gives you an equation and a set of domains, and your job is to find the function rule, chart it, and graph it. Pause here and come back when you're done. 1a starts out -2x plus y equals 3. So the first thing you have to do is make it a function that gives you the rule. You're going to put all your x's in. It's going to give you all of these y's. You're going to graph a line that looks like this. 1b has an x squared. An x squared will give you a parabola. So you've given these x's, it gives you these y's, and it's going to make a parabola with a nice little curve. Anything that says y equals anything x squared is always going to be a curve. Y equals something x plus or minus something is always going to be a straight line. And y equals anything absolute value x is always going to be, that's a W, always a V. Okay? Let's see example 2. Example 2 is exactly like 1, but it does not give you domains to choose. It says graph each function, and it gives you an equation, and your job is to come up with your own x's. Now, when you do this, I would choose a few, include 0 and a couple of positives and a couple of negatives. Ideally, this, or maybe 4 to 0, -2, -4. That would make for a nice one. Doesn't matter. Pick a few. I've picked these, and I've done this math, and it's given me these answers. So I've got 2, 5, which is there, and 1, 3, and 0, 1, and -1, -1, and -2, -3, and that gives me this straight line. And again, if 1 or 2 of your points don't end up on your line, do the math again. The next equation it gives us is y equals x squared. So x squared is our function to get us to y. So again, I'm going to choose these x's, and x squared is 4, and 1, and 0, and 1, and 4. And when I go to graph it, 2, 4, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, -1, 1, -2, 4, and I have a nice little parabola. So pause the video here and graph the functions on 2a and 2b on Check It Out, page 258. Come back when you're done. 2a is y equals 3x minus 2. I've chosen these. I got these y's. It gave me this nice line. 2b is an absolute value, which is a V shape. I chose these x's. It gave me these y's. I end up with this shape. Okay? Example 3 asks us to use the graph of the function 1/3 x plus 2 to find the value of f of x when x equals 6. Well, I'm going to stick 6 right into this, and it's going to give me an answer of 4. It shows you this graph. If you have a graph that's lucky enough to have your line pass the grid lines in the graph at exactly the right spot, you can solve just by looking at the graph. Most graphs aren't like this, and doing it algebraically by solving the equation works much better. However, in this case, you can see that if you're given x equals 6, you can see that y equals 4 just by looking at the graph. Next we have the word problem. The function y equals 2.5x describes how many millimeters sea level y rises in x years. So this is sea level and this is number of years. Graph the function and use the graph to estimate how many millimeters it will rise in 3.5 years. Now I'm doing this graph by hand. Will I be able to accurately estimate it? Maybe not. So, because years can't be negative, my chart is going to say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to make sure my 3.5 is going to be represented in my graph. And my rule is 2.5x. So 2.5 times 0 is 0, and 2.5 and 5 and 7.5 and 10, because I'm going to multiply 2.5 times everything. Then I'm going to graph these. 0, 0, 1, 2.5, 2, 5, 3, 7.5, 4, 10. And the question is, if this is 3 and this is 4, then 3.5 is going to be right in the middle here. Where does that end up? And if you can see that on your graph, great. If not, you can put 3.5 in for x and do the math that way, and you can come up with 8.75 millimeters. And word problems need word answers. Try check it out number 4 on page 259. Pause the video and come back when you're done. The function y equals 6x describes the distance, how much lava moved in an average of how many hours. So x goes 0 through 6, and 6x is just that multiplied by 6. And use the graph to estimate 5.5. So you can either use your graph to estimate 5.5, or you can plug in 5.5 to your 6 times x equals y equation in order to come up with 33. Making sure that you have word answers to your word problems. Tonight's homework starts on page 260. You're going to do numbers 14 to 42 even, just the even problems. What I would like to do is talk to you about number 26, number 38, numbers 40 and 42, because those problems happen a little differently. Numbers 26, use the graph of a function to find the value of y when x equals 6. Check your answer. Just use the equation. Because you're the one drawing the graph, it's so much easier to solve these when they give you the graph. Number 38, find the value of x so that number 38, x comma 6 satisfies y equals negative x minus 4. Now, here they've given you the y. 6 equals negative x minus 4, and they are asking you to solve for x. You're going to work this problem backwards to get the x on one side of the equation and everything else on the other side. So here you are solving for x. Number 40, for each function determine whether the given points are on the graph. You are given y equals 7x minus 2, and you are given the point 1 comma 5. If you put 1 in for x and 5 in for y, does this work? If this works, then this point is on this line. If it doesn't work, then it's not. So these answers for this and the other point, 2 comma 10, are yes, no answers. Okay? When you finish this, you will have a quiz. Please make sure you are well versed in 4.1 through 4.4 and ready for that quiz. Please ask me if you have any questions, and I will see you tomorrow.